Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at someone who is submitting fake or altered cards to PSA on purpose to test them. I know PSA in general has lots on their plate at the moment between the backlog, the stuff with BBCE recently, and now stuff like this. I guess other things like people submitting stolen cards and them slipping through. Real question is it right to submit things to catch PSA? Yeah, it's in bad faith. Is it going to piss them off? Almost certainly. Is it going to get your account, whatever account you use to submit these, banned, and maybe associated accounts? Probably. At the same time, I'm sorry, PSA, but you should be catching this stuff. This is one of the first things that should be checked, or one of the things that definitely should be checked on every first edition card. There's no excuse not to. In terms of being altered, this is the first place that people are going to turn. No, I don't think you can make a believable first edition stamp without the proper equipment and ink used originally. Not going to happen. I've seen fake ones. They never look the same, maybe at first glance across the room. But when you're grading cards, it shouldn't be across the room. If you're going to authenticate something and put it in a slab, the light should be turned on. You should have some sort of magnification, jeweler's loupe at bare minimum. How these grading companies don't seem to have a microscope on hand in any of the footage I've ever seen. It's really weird to me. They're not that expensive. You can get a high-end microscope. Even if you don't need the video equipment to go with it, just the ability to look through that rather than messing around with the jeweler's loupe to try and see for discrepancies would be worth it to me, in my opinion. I don't know. But that's just the thing. I feel like there's, in general, a lack of care and a lack of science involved with actually looking at these things. And maybe some of that's the backlog. Maybe this is like a one-time thing. Maybe they're trained that they should always check the first edition stamp, compare it to real examples. But I don't know. I think if I had to guess, I think not only PSA, but I think most of these grading companies would accidentally grade these fake stamps or authenticate them, just because I don't think that much care is put into, especially inexpensive cards. At what point do they start, spending more time on them? Maybe when they're getting a bigger paycheck because there's an upcharge on it. Your guess is as good as mine. It might all go through the same people. That's the thing. You can't control every employee, so this could just be an employee that wasn't doing their job. Could be an employee that was undertrained. Could be an employee that just doesn't care, because if you're not paying big bucks and you're not hiring people that are passionate about this stuff. I mean, you can pretend they're passionate, but they're probably not. Most workplaces are filled with people that are just there to make a paycheck. I can't see there being that many exceptions in this field of work. I love trading cards. I love Pokemon cards, but I would not want to authenticate them all day, every day, 9 to 5. It would suck. So, this seems like really similar to the BBCE excuse, where they can't guarantee because it might encourage people to submit fakes. But if you can't tell that people are submitting fakes, like in this case where he's obviously not trying to sell it to other people after it's graded. But if you can't catch the people that are trying to dupe you, how are you going to do it when it matters the most and they're going to resell them afterwards? I get that their sole intention here is to try to trick you to make you look bad. But at the same time, if you can't catch them, how in the world are you going to catch anyone that has like bad intentions of getting it back and selling it on eBay or selling it anywhere else? Most of the people that are buying the graded cards, especially the inexpensive ones, they're not checking the authenticity themselves afterwards. I mean, they should be before and or after any grading. But it's just not what we're into here. So on this channel, we're going to teach you how to check this yourself. If you really want the slab, if you really want to pay the extra money for a chunky piece of plastic and get your card back ages later, by all means, go to town, do that. But I'm here to teach you how to know if this is a fake stamp or not. I have plenty of examples. And I think just in general, you're better off learning yourself. Even if you are going to submit the cards, when you purchase something, before you send it in, being able to check all this stuff by yourself at little to no cost, I guess, other than a little bit of time invested in learning how to look for things that could be wrong with these cards, is your best course of action. It costs you very little, and you can become your own expert. So, what else we got here? Just time in general spent on each of these cards that are submitted for grading is a joke to me. I don't know how long is spent on them, but I can't imagine very long. Like anything production-wise, if you've worked in any place where you're shipping things or you're manufacturing or anything like that, you know that you have a quota. You have to do a certain amount of, I'm sure they have to grade a certain amount of cards on their shift. If they don't, then they get spanked. If they mess up, they get spanked. So there's like a balance in between. But at the same time, when someone is paying solely on the basis that you're authenticating and telling them what condition the card is in, I think that's maybe where you need to be more on the time spent versus production output. I get it. People don't want to pay extra for grading, but that's kind of where you end up. You're going to be more expensive grading because they can do less cards in an amount of time. If they pay more for their employees, for employees that care, for employees that actually know what they're looking at, everything gets more expensive. So this is in German. So we're going to use our extremely fancy high-end translating tool here to try and see what they're saying. June 2020, more and more often, I put myself in the position of counterfeiters, how they could take advantage of the situation. I had snapped in a WhatsApp group that was possible to print the first edition stamp later using UV printer. I didn't think much of it, but I was curious about the quality. I had 5 cards sent to someone in the branch, including a Charmander and the Machoke. I have to admit the quality wasn't the best. The logo was grayish, a little washed out, and not quite in the right place. If you hold the card in your hand and run your finger over it, you will feel an increase in the first logo because the print was applied later. It's always applied later, but just the materials used, the type of printer used. And if you don't have the exact size and everything else, you should be able to clearly tell that it's a fake. Some have been decent, but as soon as you put magnification to it, you can tell the difference between what is a real and a fake stamp. Of course, I was curious to see what would happen when it ended up at PSA, and lo and behold, it's a PSA 9. After 1.5 years of grading, I'm shocked that I'm holding this badly printed fake first edition Machoke in my hand today. Grading stands for an independent condition assessment and authentication of the card, which is not given here. Where does it start and where does it end? Get Shadowless Charizard, print first edition stamp on it afterwards. How many holo cards are already in circulation with better print quality? Write me your opinion in the comments. So we've seen fake stamps before. Usually they're pretty bad. I would say that this one's probably pretty bad too in person, especially after we look at the video provided. So here we go. We got a Machamp with a fake stamp. This is got to be one of the first places I'm going to look if I'm trying to authenticate anything with a stamp on it, because the majority of them, especially anything that's shadowed, you can just add a stamp, the first edition stamp, as long as the set had an actual first edition run, and voila, the card is worth a whole lot more. This probably the number one way that you're going to see people try to dupe others. But I don't know. Usually you can tell if it's smudgy, if it's not exactly right. It's always It's always fake. So I think we've seen graded ones in the past, but they weren't printed like this. But regardless, I know it's an inexpensive card, relatively, and they just didn't spend the time that was needed to actually authenticate it. So what are you really paying for? Your guess is as good as mine. Probably the plastic around the outside of it. Here it is. We get another angle of it. And sure, it does look bulgy compared to an actual first edition stamp, and does look gray. But that's the thing. If we had it under magnification, I'm sure we could clearly tell between this and another one. That's the thing too. On a lot of fakes, especially like first edition Charizards, because they pop up every now and then. There's been some like Etsy versions of proxies, they want to call them. But as soon as you see the first edition stamp in the wrong spot relative like to the border and the other things around it, you know you're in for a very bad time. So here we go. We got a video. If it'll play. Let's see how can we make it bigger. There we go. Is it broken? There we go. We're just a little bit broken. So here's the Charmander with the same fake first edition. As you can see them peel it off. So I don't expect PSA or any of the grading companies to actually like peel it off before they know that it's actually a fake stamp. Obviously you can't do this with a real stamp. But yeah, it's clearly a fake stamp. Someone was asleep at work. Can you tell it's early in the morning? But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some sort of process. Obviously, this is a huge point of contention to check those first edition stamps, especially on shadowless cards. But I mean, on anything, even the jungle stuff, the German base, whatever. If there's a stamp on it, it should be checked and compared to an actual stamp. So if we go on to E4, and you guys, all of you that are eager to learn what's real, what's fake, how to tell the difference, hop on here. There's a microscope resource thread by a certain Rattle that is extremely useful. You can see here we got a real on the top and a fake on the bottom. It's always going to be the same dimensions from the same set, short of the thick and thin stamp. But this is pretty much what you're looking at. The difference between a real one and a fake one is typically very obvious. This one here being printed off in one solid layer on the fake card. But yeah, if you don't want to hop onto E4, there's also a Pokemon cards under a microscope playlist here on my YouTube. Check that out. Buy yourself a like $4. I think it is on eBay, or it might be closer to $10 on Amazon if you want to get it right away. Regardless, great investment. lv.x is going to let you see all this stuff. It's not going to let you bring it up on your screen quite as nicely, but you'll be able to check all this stuff. Check your cards. For everyone that's asking, hey, is this card real? Is this card fake? When you get one in, if it's expensive especially, check it yourself. Give it a look. And that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. Was it right of them to send in fakes on purpose in order to test the system? Join the Discord. If you have any questions about the loop or what you should be looking for, let me know. There's videos. There's a recent one where I had a fake booster box. So if you're checking modern product or checking anything in general, that one I'm using the inexpensive loop. I think it was only like $2 or $3 at the time that I picked it up, but inflation, am I right? All right, guys. See you next time.